entitled Tich Works at the Quick Trip. You see, several months ago, it was kind of a dreary, rainy morning. I had stopped at the Quick Trip to get a soda, as is my habit most mornings. I held the door for a woman a little bit younger than myself and smiled at her as she walked in the door, saying to her, "Good morning, it's a beautiful day." And she responded in a grouchy voice that said, "Today sucks. It's raining. And I don't know why they don't ever clean these windows on this store." And then she walked by the hot dog roller machine that they have there and announced to everybody in the store as loudly as she could that to eat any of those delicacies would probably give you ptomaine poisoning. Then she proceeded back to the soda machine and complained that there wasn't enough ice in the machine and that the soda was probably watered down. And when I was ready to check out from the store, as luck would have it, I was standing right behind her. Again, the young woman at the checkout at the Quick Trip said something to the effect that, "Good morning. How are you today?" And the woman said, "It's not a good morning. I've made other plans." And then she looked at the cashier's fingernails and said, "Why do you have fingernails that look like that? You're working at a store, not at the house of ill repute." And then she stormed out of the building, announcing to everyone within earshot that she would never enter that store again. The young woman who was working the cash register watched as the elder woman walked out of the store, and she said these words, "What is her problem?" Now, admittedly, I had been asking myself those same four words over and over while that woman was in the store. I was saying it, what is her problem? What is her problem? The thing is that when the young woman working at the Quick Trip said those four words, they didn't sound like my four words. When she said, "What is her problem?" those words coming out of her mouth sounded compassionate, sounded caring, sounded empathetic. Where when the words were going through my mind, my words sounded condemning and critical, judgmental. That experience reminded me of a teaching of Tich, a Buddhist priest. Tich taught one story, and the story was entitled, "There Are No Throwaway People." And in that small publication, Tich told about a lettuce plant, and he said if we were growing a lettuce plant, and the plant was not doing well, he said we would not blame the lettuce. That if the lettuce was not growing properly, it wasn't the fault of the lettuce. It was maybe the soil needed more nutrients, maybe the soil needed more or less water, maybe the environment around the plant needed more sunshine, less sunshine. But he said we never blame the lettuce, because it's not the fault of the lettuce for not growing properly, it's the fault of the environment that we've surrounded that lettuce by. Today we have these apps for our phones that you can point at a plant that's not doing well, and it will tell you immediately that the plant needs more sunlight, or it needs more water, or it needs more nitrogen, but the app will never tell you that the plant just needs to be thrown away, it's no good. Because we don't blame the plant. And so the analogy here is that when that young clerk at the Quick Trip used her words, "What is her problem?" to her and from her lips, it sounded like she was concerned about the environment that woman lived in. Not about what was wrong with the woman, but what was wrong with the environment in which she lived. Now, When I think about, a lesson that all of us have known forever, this lesson is simply that we all want to be loved, not hated. But worse than being hated is being ignored. And yet, realistically, if we're honest with ourselves, we go through our lives ignoring almost everyone we meet. Walk into a drugstore or a grocery store, we enter the building. We're not looking to make friends. We're not wanting to establish a close relationship with anyone. We walk into that store. We want to get what it is we went there to buy. We buy it, we get out, and we get home. And in so doing, we treat indifferently every single person in that facility. We go through most of our lives treating everyone we encounter with indifference. Not intentionally, but that's how we go through our lives, treating people as though we really don't care. Now, when I think about my life, and I'm not a person who has gone out of my way to just be nice to everyone I meet and to try to become friendly with everyone I meet. But there have been a couple of times when I have encountered people and did not treat them indifferently. And they're some of the highlights of my life. There's this one time years ago, I was going in not a Quick Trip, but a 7-Eleven early in the morning to get a soda. And as I was leaving the store, I held the door for this little old black man who was coming toward the door. Now, I was on my way to do a funeral. I was all dressed, white shirt, tie, suit. I held the door and I said to this elderly black man coming towards me, "Good morning, sir. How are you today?" And he said, "Happy birthday to me." I said, "Really?" "Yes, sir." He said, "Best birthday present I ever received." I said, "So this is your birthday?" "Yes, sir." He said, "Here I am, an 87-year-old black man, and there's a white man in a 3-piece suit holding the door and calling me sir." And we both laughed. He went on in the store, and I ended up, although I was leaving, I turned around and followed him right back in the store. And I said, "Sir, what's your name?" He said, "It's Harold." And I announced to everybody I could with a loud voice. I said, "Hey, everybody, this is Harold. It's his 87th birthday. Want to sing happy birthday to Harold?" And they all sang happy birthday to Harold. I'll always remember that. I remember another time my wife and I were coming home late in the evening. It was a Friday night. We stopped at a McDonald's I think we needed to use the restroom. And as we were approaching the door to enter the McDonald's restaurant, there were about 3 or 4 young teenage girls about to leave. I turned and was kind of looking at my wife while I reached and opened the door, and not noticing that while I was opening the door, one of the teenage girls inside the McDonald's was starting to open the door with her backside. And so as I opened the door and there was nothing for her to push against, she fell literally into my arms. And I laughed and said something like, "My prayer's been answered." We stood there with those girls and we laughed and we talked for a few minutes. They had just come from a high school football game. And it was just fun just talking to them. And they laughed, and one of the last things they said to me when they left, they said, "If you're interested," they said, "if you want to catch me next Friday, I'll be right here about the same time." How many of those kind of moments have I missed? How many of you missed? Let's promise each other that we're not going to treat so many people indifferently. Let's go through life caring about those we encounter and trying to see the people not for any of their flaws, but as people that are trying to survive in the environments in which they found themselves. Tich had a good teaching. We can apply it in our daily lives. Bless you.